Some of you may recognize this as an etude composed by Robert Getchell. But this video isn't about Getchell. That's for another day. It's about my ability to play the etudes in that book after undergoing 4 surgeries on both the upper and lower lips. It was July of 2011. As I was playing, and to my astonishment, I felt a significant bump on my lower lip. After a few days off the horn, I tried again, and it was clear at that moment there was an issue. The long search for someone that knew what they were looking at and cared was depressing. If I heard one more doctor tell me, "You play too much and should rest," or "It's because of your cleft lip," or the infamous, "It's all in your head" medical bailout statement, I was going to lose it. Actually, in full disclosure, I did lose it a few times. But finally, after 8 months of searching, doctors finally discovered what turned out to be tumors on both lips. I was relieved, but also horrified, not just because of what was in front of me, but also because of what I had already endured. I was born with a cleft lip and had multiple lip surgeries as a child in the 1960s. I became serious about playing the trumpet when I was 8, and while initially developing my technique, my ability to practice traditionally was interrupted multiple times by additional surgeries. And after each surgery, I wasn't allowed to play for 3 months. So as a youth, I had already figured out some of the secrets to recovery. I now know that there are certain musical and technical skills that can be practiced just days after surgery, without ever putting the instrument to the face. It was all Arbans in those days, and I would sing and play the valves of everything I could find. In retrospect, the experience had multiple positive effects on my playing. Reading music and sight reading became easy, and the fingers became independent of what the embouchure felt like. Because I whistled and sang all the time, my fingers learned to follow the wind pattern and not the chop sensation. But there I was in 2012, about to go through all of this again. In July 2012, I underwent cryosurgery to eliminate the precancerous tumor on the top lip. And a few weeks later, an oral surgeon performed not 1, but 2 additional surgeries to remove a stubborn, fatty tumor from my bottom lip. For a trumpet player, this is the worst of the worst, and it was. To be honest, if I had a crystal ball and it showed how long this was going to take, I wonder if I would have kept after it. I really thought I was out of the woods and on my way to rebuilding my embouchure, but I was experiencing minimal success. Practicing hard and disciplined over the next 5+ years, I thought, would be enough. I knew from my cleft lip surgeries growing up it would take time, but I also listened to my body and common sense. It was taking too much time, and my body was definitely signaling there were issues. I also knew I knew how to rehab. Why wasn't it working? I remember saying the same thing all the time. It feels like there is something there, something in the way. It felt like I was trying to play while my lower lip was frozen, like after a visit to the dentist. And for good measure, focal dystonia was in play and getting much worse daily. Maybe time to rethink whether this is worth it. And then out of nowhere, wonderful friends of mine, thanks Marjorie and Walter, advised me to try one last thing. They were well acquainted with the cutting-edge medical talents of the Langone Health Center in Manhattan and suggested a visit. I met plastic surgeon Dr. Rodriguez and neurologist Dr. Fu in the summer of 2017. After meeting with Dr. Rodriguez, he said that he was fairly certain what it might be. Doing tests with the neurologist would help him determine what the issue was and what the next step might be. Nerve conduction studies and an electromyography were done the following day on the area in question, and it was abundantly clear there was a nerve issue. Dr. Rodriguez later confirmed it was a nerve tumor, a neuroma. I told him that there was focal dystonia, and he agreed, but said that was not the problem. Following my nearly 2-hour surgery, I never experienced focal dystonia again. Dr. Rodriguez suspected a neuroma from the outset, even before the nerve conduction studies and the electromyography. The conversation following the testing led to the path we chose to follow. His suggestion was to cut out the section of nerve that was barely functioning and then transplant nerve tissue and rewire to the brain. Dr. Rodriguez was confident I would play again and asked what I thought. I simply stated I was not playing worth a darn anyway, so I had nothing to lose and much to gain with the surgery. That surgery took place on October 3rd, 2017. This snippet of my playing currently is simply a progress report and is by no means a final product. There is a long way to go, but for players with focal dystonia and other chop issues, this may be something you might consider down the road. Through my 12 surgeries, I learned an incredible amount. There is always a way out with chop problems. Playing correctly is the most important thing. But if one is certain they play correctly, and especially if they could play before having phenomenon like focal dystonia, having surgery is a viable option. Just make sure you are working with the best plastic surgeon, the best neurologist, not to mention the best teachers. If you or someone you know would like to learn more about what I've been through, or if you're looking for guidance and don't know where to turn, please feel free to contact me using the link below.